Welcome to another session of the Rousseau Report. I'm your host, Dennis Rousseau. We started the Rousseau Report in June of 2019, and this one marks our 50th session. And just when I think, what else aviation can we talk about? Lo and behold, here we are. We've used AircraftPost data for practically all our sessions, and through our collaboration, we've been able to bring you market intelligence and various levels of unbiased information not found anywhere in business aviation today. So I'd like to take the next few minutes and provide you an insight on the depth of AircraftPost data we've been able to build and access over the last 22 years. As a side note, the AircraftPost logo with the uprights is Latin for absolute value. Now a little history. In the 1960s, our business jet community consisted of the Jet Commander, DH-125, Falcon 20, Lear 23, G2, and Jetstar, among a couple others. And by the late 70s, there were plus or minus 1,200 business jets in service, mostly concentrated in North America. By the 1980s, we saw the Falcon 50, G3, Citation 3, and the Canadair Challenger 600. But for the most part, the 80s didn't see much in clean sheet designs, but rather derivatives of existing models. So as you can see, we were in the infancy of business aviation, but new things were on the horizon. The AircraftPost concept began with a conversation I had with the chairman of a New England company in 1990. They were operating a Lear 35 that was purchased new in 1980. And as is the case with most owners, starting with a light jet, their company was growing and the Lear no longer served their mission. More to the point, he asked me what the Lear was worth. And my response was, take this, I don't know, but I can find out. He then told me his assistant called 3 brokers to get the value of the aircraft. And he got 3 different answers. But no one offered backup. It was as though they pulled a number out of thin air. No pun intended. He then asked how I would determine value. My response was that as a consultant, I could ask current owners what they paid for their aircraft, new or pre-owned, and then I would put together a matrix to ascertain value based on year model, total time, engine program, maintenance status, and the like. Long story short, I contacted over 300 Lear owners and generated a spec for each aircraft, so I would have a benchmark from which to compare the client aircraft. But most important, I had pricing information for new aircraft sales, as well as historical and current pricing for pre-owned. I typed up my report and drove to Boston to present my methodology and the value of their aircraft, which based on my research was $1.7 million. He said, great, let's sell the airplane and look for a replacement that better fits our mission. I said, the latter I can help you with. However, I don't sell airplanes, but I can assist you in selecting a broker that's well-versed in selling Lears and has had recent experience. Interestingly, by collecting fleet data, I already knew who had exclusive listings and recent sales experience for Lears. So I presented a list of brokers for him to consider, which is currently a feature on AircraftPost, and I'll show you that in a minute. He selected one broker, and the aircraft closed within 2 months for $1.73 million. And mind you, the broker was never privy to my report nor our value of $1.7 million. We went on to acquire a Falcon 50 at the company in the same manner as we determined the value for the Lear. Contact all owners and find an aircraft that meets the client's requirements. By employing this methodology, we found an aircraft and an owner that had to sell. Moving forward, we did this multiple times with Challengers, Falcons, Gulfstreams. And at the end of the day, we had specs and pricing on hundreds of aircraft, specifically 983 business jets. And the irony was they all fit into the respective category, small, medium, and large, and were priced and competed accordingly. Keeping in mind, there are pluses and minuses to each model, and our mission was to bring all this data to the forefront to enable better informed decisions. Now, let's go behind the AircraftPost curtain. Today, AircraftPost tracks 72 purpose-built business jet models comprising 16,328 aircraft, ranging from very light jets and light jets, such as the CJ's Phenom 300, Lear 40 and 70, long-range models, including the 7X, G500, Global 5500, and the ultra-long-range G650 and Global 7500, plus everything in between. and they provide multiple platforms specific to owner-operators, finance companies, brokers, OEMs, and the like. Now, prior to adding a specific model, the process starts with the product specification, and that provides performance guarantees, weights, standard equipment, and interior configuration. As well, the various maintenance inspections are laid out, and once a serial number enters service, the clock starts, so we can gauge when the next inspection is due. We then scour reports generated by leading industry publications and speak to pilots flying the specific model. So when the information is presented to the AircraftPost audience, rest assured, it's fact-based and realistic. Options lists grow once a model enters service. Take, for example, Avance L5 or KA band. It wasn't available when some current production aircraft entered service. However, today, it's sought-after equipment, albeit at a price, which I'm going to circle back to shortly. Let's now look at how all this information comes together to the viewer. We'll look specifically at the super midsize Gulfstream G280. Now, this aircraft was introduced in 2008, entered service in 2012, and it's April 24. There are 275 aircraft in service. I use this particular model because it has its own type certificate versus piggybacking in an earlier model, and there are plenty in service to make some concrete statements. The Fleet Statistics Summary View provides just that: average total time and landings for the fleet, percentage of aircraft on an engine program, average passenger configuration, age of paint and interior. Further, we can view all the standard equipment for the model, so there's no question how it's configured from the factory. For example, does it come with dual HFs, triple FMS, and of course, optional equipment to indicate the percentage of the fleet that it have: head-up display, enhanced vision system, synthetic vision, how many have a conference group, divan, and so forth. Using a hierarchical approach, we can also view averages by year, or we can whittle down to each specific serial number with total time, landings, age of paint and interior, and then we assign the AircraftPost value, or ACPV, to each serial number, and this is not something that's assigned by group or year model, but rather individually, as each aircraft may have some differences that could impact value, which of course is driven primarily by markets. Specifically, those aircraft on the market, as well as those that have sold, and then we combine those data points with what we refer to internally as trend metrics that address total in service, recent sales, percentage of the fleet on the market, absorption rates, as well as the number of aircraft on the market at any given point in time, all of which have an effect on present and future value. By tracking these statistics year over year, we can better determine near-term residual value. When did the markets decline in availability, selling prices? Can we draw corollaries to the state of the global economy, and so forth? This in turn generates a value trend and establishes a year-over-year rate of market depreciation. Due to the 280 not entering service until 2012, we can't see the effects the 2008 recession had on selling prices. But we can certainly see the lack of inventory driving prices higher in 2022, when everyone had to have an aircraft due to the pandemic. As with most all depreciating assets, what goes up will come down, and we're seeing that here with a 2014 G280 selling for an average 17.1 in 2022 to 14.1 in Q1 24. Now, if we consider a legacy business jet model such as the G4, selling trends can be better illustrated during the dot-com bust, the 2008 and 2022 recession, and now the correction. And again, it doesn't matter the aircraft model, as seen here with the G550. All aircraft are affected. A couple other dynamics that go into year-over-year depreciation, as well as residual values, are price drops, original cost new, future availability. Let's now return to AircraftPost features, and these are specific to owners and operators when considering purchasing a pre-owned aircraft. It's part of due diligence or the strategic plan. Of the 72 models, let's assume we have a $10 million budget. We want a cabin height of 6 feet and an LCD cockpit. Hit submit, and it shows 3 models that meet those specific criteria. Using the Challenger 300 and applying the hierarchical approach, let's select dark wood veneer and conference group for our options, and of the 457 aircraft built, minus the 5 that have been written off, we have 139 that fit the dark wood veneer option, but only 2 that have a conference group. Why only 2? Look no further than the seat back width. You have to be a pretty skinny person to squeeze into those seats. Another feature that assists aircraft owners and cuts down time is the Selective Broker feature. Select your model, percent difference between ask and sell price, days on the market to sell, sale time frame, and you will see all brokers that have had an exclusive listing on your model aircraft with their respective results and their contact URL. How long did that take? Once you've selected the broker to represent you, we provide a resale folder where you can store and view all pertinent documents, all in the privacy of your own portal. Before we leave, let's circle back to major options and their impact on resale values. Using a 2013 G280, all things being equal, 8-passenger interior, engine programs, 3,600 total time, one has the $1.2 million HUD EVS option, the other does not. They both sold for $13.75 million in mainstream markets. The key here is if you're purchasing a pre-owned aircraft, load up on the options because the return to the original buyer is 0. I'm Dennis Rousseau for the Rousseau Report. And as always, thank you AircraftPost. Until next time, see you then.